Hey, what's poppin'? We're all ready to go. Got my Mando hat on. I'm ready to break down this episode. I've seen it 4 times already, and I'm probably gonna watch it a couple more times. But I think I got most of the Easter eggs, and I think I understand most of the little hints that they had in the episode. So I wrote a couple things out so I don't forget anything. So here we go. It's been a long 10 months after we saw the Dark Saber with Moff Gideon, which you may know from the Clone Wars. Now, personally, I haven't watched the whole entirety of the show, The Clone Wars, yet. I'm on season 2, so please don't kill me. I don't know what happens in the entirety or the rest of the show. Don't mind the minimal editing in these videos, by the way. I'm very new to this, so we're gonna learn this together, you know? So, anyway, season 2 finally premiered on October 30th, and the episode titles were originally announced in April, and I had them all written down. So, the first episode was supposed to be called The Search, which led me to believe that we would see Boba Fett or Ahsoka Tano by the end of the episodes because they were both confirmed to be in The Mandalorian Season 2. But the episode's actually called The Marshal, which threw me for a loop, but I still remain with my same theory that one of them would come up by the end of the episode. Obviously, there are spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, The Marshal, I would definitely turn back now before I tell you any Baby Yoda spoilers or anything like that. So, anyway, the episode is directed by Jon Favreau, and if you don't know who that is, he played Happy in the Iron Man movies, which is his bodyguard. If you don't know what I'm talking about either. He also directed the Jungle Book and the Lion King live action movies, and he directed Elf, believe it or not. So, he's got a little experience under his belt, and he's the creator of the Mandalorian, so he definitely deserves to be directing this episode, and he does a great job with it too. The scenery is great, the cinematography is amazing. It's just everything that you would expect in an episode of The Mandalorian at this point, because it's just a fantastic show, and I enjoy watching it, and I've watched it many times. Now we're going to dive into the episode. The first scene with Mando and the child, they're walking through this planet, and there's a lot of graffiti on the walls. I have a theory. This planet looks a lot like Corellia, which is where Han Solo grew up in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Because it looks a lot like it. I could be entirely wrong, though, so tell me if I am. That's just my theory. There's a lot of graffiti on the walls, and there's a lot of Easter eggs on the walls, such as C-3PO, there's some stormtroopers, and even Watto, the blue guy who enslaves Anakin and his mom on Tatooine in the prequels. So then, Din Djarin and the child, they arrive at this fighting arena between two Gamorrean guards. If you don't know what the Gamorrean guards are, they're the green guys from Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. You would definitely recognize them if you're a Star Wars fan. And they're trying to find this criminal named Gor Koresh. Gor Koresh is played by John Leguizamo. You may recognize his voice from Ice Age in 2002. He plays Sid the Sloth. It's almost unrecognizable though, so I don't blame you if you didn't know that one. So apparently Gor Koresh knows about the Mandalorians, and he's seen a bunch of them. I don't know why he specifically knows where the Mandalorian are, but Din Djarin needs to know where others are. So he goes to Gor Koresh. And, of course, a fight breaks out in the arena, and then he ends up winning the fight. But during the fight, there's a couple species that punch him, one of which is a part of Darth Maul's species, which is a really cool add to the show. I was not expecting that. So eventually he gets Gor Koresh to say the Mandalorian's on Tatooine, to which everyone freaks out because they're like, oh my god, here comes Boba. He's coming in, he's back. And Mando gets a little dark and kills Gor Koresh. And I wasn't expecting that, but I mean, go off, Din Djarin. So then, Mando takes the Razor Crest ship back to Tatooine, where we see Amy Sedaris' character again as Peli Motto. And if you don't know who Amy Sedaris is, she plays Princess Carolyn in BoJack Horseman. And Mando asks Peli Motto where Mos Pelgo is, because that's where Gor Koresh told him to go on Tatooine. And so she shouts for R5, and R5 is from A New Hope. That's when Luke Skywalker and his uncle, they're getting droids from the Jawas, and they pick C-3PO and R5. And as they're walking back to the moisture farm, R5 has a little problem, and Luke's like, oh no, Uncle Owen, this one has a bad motivator. So then they take R2-D2. So R5's back, and he's got a little mark on his helmet, I guess. So, yeah, that's a pretty cool cameo. I wasn't expecting that. So then Peli Motto shows where Mos Pelgo is, because R5 has a map of Tatooine. And then Mando asks if she still has the land speeder from Chapter 5, the Gunslinger, and he uses that to go to Mos Pelgo, where they're moisture farmers too, it looks like. They're also miners, apparently, so I don't know. So Mando parks his land speeder and goes into the cantina in Mos Pelgo, and talks to the bartender, I guess. I didn't really think of characters being bartenders in Star Wars, but anyway, if you thought his species looked familiar, the bartender, it's because he was in Jabba's palace. And he was one of the guys who was going to push Luke into the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi. So that was a cool callback. So then Mando asks the bartender, like, I'm looking for other Mandalorian. I heard there was one here. And the bartender's like, oh, you talking about the Marshal? He's like, what are you talking about? And this guy comes in with Boba Fett's armor. Now, when I saw this, I started freaking out, and I thought it was Boba Fett, but my friend calmed me down, was like, that's not Boba Fett. And I was like, oh, you're right. As soon as he took his helmet off, I was a little disappointed. But I still think it's really cool that Boba Fett's armor showed up in this episode. And so the Marshal's name is Cobb Vanth, and he's just wearing Boba Fett's armor to protect Mos Pelgo from pillagers and pirates and just anybody who could damage the town, I guess. So this raises a lot of questions, like, how the heck did Boba Fett's armor survive the Sarlacc pit when he was, he fell in it? He was presumed dead. Now, I know he's supposed to be in the season, and his armor just kind of survives on its own, but I don't know. It raises more questions than answers, really, but whatever. Before he takes off the helmet, Cobb Vanth orders a drink at the bar, and it's spotchka. And if you don't know what spotchka is, that's from Season 1, Chapter 4, The Sanctuary. They have that in the little cantina there, and it's made from the krill that the farmers have, that Mando and Cara Dune help protect from the AT Walker. So that's another cool callback. Now, Mando's not happy that Cobb Vanth has the armor on because it's against the Mando code to be wearing the armor if you're not a Mandalorian. So he's understandably upset, and they are about to get into a fight when a crate dragon appears and starts harassing the town and kills a bantha, which was very sad. Crate dragons were actually referenced before in the Star Wars movies. There's a fossil in A New Hope when C-3PO lands on Tatooine for the first time and he's just walking around by himself. So that was a cool add to the episode too. I really like how they're making good use of all these Easter eggs. So Cobb Vanth sees that the problem with the crate dragon can finally be solved because the Mandalorian arrived. So he asks Mando to help him, and if he successfully kills the crate dragon with him, then Cobb Vanth will give him Boba Fett's armor. So they take off on some land speeders to go find the crate dragon's cave, because Cobb Vanth says he knows where it lives. I don't know how, but he knows where it lives. And when they're on the land speeders, if you look at Cobb Vanth's, it looks a little familiar. That's because it's Anakin's pod racer when he was a kid. Now this is pod racing. And Cobb Vanth on the way there explains how he got the armor. He talks about how after the second Death Star explosion, they were celebrating, and right away the mining collective came in and made Mos Pelgo into basically a slave encampment overnight, he says. So he escapes and takes a little bin from the mining collective that they left outside, and it was full of silicax crystals. I don't know anything about silicax crystals. Silicax crystals. Say that 10 times fast. Anyway, I don't know anything about them, but apparently they're super rare or something. So he walks, and the Jawas find him and take him in, and they see he has the silicax crystals, and they get super excited. They're like, silicax! And they want to trade him for the silicax crystals, so he points at Boba Fett's armor, which was just sitting in the corner of the sand crawler with the Jawas. I don't know how it got there, but I'm sure we'll find out later in the season. So Cobb Vanth and Mando, they're riding along on their land speeders with him on the pod racer, and they come across Tusken Raiders. Well, they come across, I'm not sure what they're called, but there's like these other animals that they tame, I guess, that are with the Tusken Raiders. Not the banthas, these little dog things. I don't know, don't kill me. Anyway, so Mando speaks Tusken. I guess it's called Tusken. We've seen this before in Chapter 5, the Gunslinger, when he talks to the Tusken Raiders on Tatooine. So then the Tuscans say, like, yo, we want to kill the Krayt Dragon too. So they team up. And actually, when they first see the Tuscan Raiders, it's the same music that they use in A New Hope when Luke sees the Tuscan Raiders for the first time, which is pretty awesome. Then Mando says that the Tuscan Raiders say that the Krayt Dragon's cave is actually an abandoned Sarlacc pit, which the Sarlacc pit is where Boba Fett is believed to die in Return of the Jedi. And Cobb Vanth says, well, there's no abandoned Sarlacc pits on Tatooine, to which Mando replies, there is if you eat the Sarlacc pit, which I didn't even know was possible. So I guess maybe the Krayt Dragon ate the Sarlacc pit and then ate Boba Fett and the armor came. I don't know what happened. Maybe we'll get answers, maybe not. I don't know. I hope we do, because that would clear up a bunch of things. It did clear up one thing though with the Krayt Dragon. In A New Hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi yells this weird noise to scare off the Tuscan Raiders, and now we know he was imitating a Krayt Dragon noise, and they were so scared of the Krayt Dragon that they ran away from Luke. Which, that was a cool callback. I didn't see that coming. So I'm speeding through the episode, just getting Easter eggs here. So I'm not gonna go through like every detail of like them planning and getting the bombs ready to kill the Krayt Dragon or whatever. But when they're burying the bombs, it's the same music as in Chapter 4, The Sanctuary, when they're getting ready to battle the Walker and the other pirates, which was another callback to earlier Mando episodes, so that was cool. While they're fighting the Krayt Dragon, it starts to crawl back into the cave, and Mando yells, Dank Farrik, it's going back in. We've heard Dank Farrik before in the show. Mythrol, the blue guy, in the beginning of the show, like episode 1, says Dank Farrik when the Razor Crest ship gets away from the I can't remember what the monsters are called at the beginning of that episode, but when they get away, he says Dank Farrik. And then while they're fighting, Mando says he has an idea to like get eaten with the bantha. He doesn't say that, but he has that idea. And Cobb Vanth's like, what do I do? And he hits the jetpack. He hits Boba Fett's jetpack, and it's still as sensitive as when Han Solo hit it in Return of the Jedi, which caused Boba Fett to go into the Sarlacc pit in the first place. That was funny. Once the Krayt Dragon dies, then the Tuscans, well, they told the Tuscans that they could have the carcass. They own the carcass now of the Krayt Dragon, and they're digging and digging, and they find a Krayt Dragon pearl, which apparently is a super rare thing on Tatooine. I don't think it's going to come into play or anything. I think it was just a Easter egg, but cool. And then, finally, in the end, Mando gets Boba Fett's armor back, and as he's speeding off, we see none other than Boba Fett, played by the same person who plays him, or the same person who plays Jango Fett and the clones in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And he doesn't have a helmet or anything, he's just looking out in the distance at the two suns setting on Tatooine and watching Mando speed by. So I guess he's going to be chasing after them. I don't know how he's going to come into play, but I can't wait for Boba Fett action to actually happen. But that's my breakdown of episode 1, The Marshal. Sorry it took so long for this to get out, but the next episode I'll have out sooner then. I just watched episode 3. I've seen it twice now, and I'll definitely watch it again and again to catch all the Easter eggs. I think I got everything from episode 2, so that should be out soon. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Eddie Coleman Reviews Movies, and please like, subscribe, comment below if you have any questions or anything you want me to review. And yeah, let me know what you want to see.